Good morning, expatriates and international students. Welcome to my channel, Good Morning Expat. And at the outset, I would like to thank all the subscribers and watchers for the overwhelming response that I've received in the initial months of my channel. So thank you really to all of you for all the love and support that you have shown. It's a big encouragement for me. Today's video is a continuation of one of the previous videos that I shot on accommodation, a very important topic for all the international students and expatriates. And in case you missed that video, you can check it out using the link that must be hovering on top of the screen. And in that video, we discussed about how to define the best place of stay for you. We're going to further discuss the topic, but this time we're going to focus on the basic amenities, more things on the inside of the apartment that you need to keep in mind when defining what will be the best house or apartment for you. There are mainly 5 things that you can keep in mind or always ask your landlord before renting an apartment or even buying a house. And the first among them is the ClassEnergetica, or the energy consumption level of the building where you're going to take the apartment. In Europe, usually the energy consumption levels range from A to G, A being the best and G being let's say the lowest. And this level, this certificate, which is called ClassEnergetica in Italian, in Italy, will define how energy efficient your building is, and this will in turn also define how effective your heating systems are going to be. So always look for that. So I have been in Milan for like 8 years now, and believe me, I have lived in apartments having all types of ClassEnergetica, really from G to A. And the main difference in layman's jargon would be the insulation of the building. So if you live in a building that has A as the ClassEnergetica, the insulation level from the windows and doors is really quite effective, which makes the heating performance more efficient, and that makes the major difference. This is how I have understood as a common person. So we talked about the energy efficiency level, which in turn affects how efficient your heating systems are going to be. So let's now try to understand what different types of heating facilities are there in place in the apartments in Milan. So in Milan and also in Italy in general, the apartments would have 2 types of heating facilities. One would be the traditional method, which is through radiation. So the radiators would have hot water supply on the inside through which they radiate waves of hot air, and that helps to heat up the room. This is quite an let's say eco-friendly and a more natural way of heating a premise. And the second one is the more new one, wherein the air conditioning unit of your apartment also radiates hot air. So the air conditioner can be used as an air conditioner to, of course, have cool air to cool the room, but at the same time it can also heat up your room. So that's again another facility which is being increasingly used in modern apartments in Milan. Which one you want is really your choice, depends also on the availability in the apartment that you're considering. Both have their pros and cons, but the radiation one, the radiators are the more common one. Okay, one important thing to keep in mind that you should always ask your landlord or renting agency is whether the heating in the building where you're going to live is autonomous or it is centralized. In most of the buildings, the heating will be centralized. In some serviced apartments or like private kind of buildings, it could be autonomous. The difference being that when it is centralized, there is a particular set time during which it is going to work, meaning typically it is 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. in most of the buildings buildings where the centralized system is used. And in case of autonomous heating, of course, you're free to turn it on or off at ease based on your desires. Typically, then the consumption, the bills that you will have will be a little bit more higher in case you live in a building where the heating is autonomous, because the guests or the tenants are using it as and when they like. So usually the landlords would charge a surcharge to accommodate the added expenditure. But typically it's centralized, especially when it's radiation based. If you live on upper levels in a building, sometimes your radiator might not function properly because of the accumulated air in the water supply. To fix this, you need to open this little valve to let the excess air out and wait until water starts coming out. You don't always need a wrench to do this, but in most radiators, you can simply open the valve with your hands and wait for this sound. Okay, another important basic amenity that has to be there in all the houses and homes is hot water supply, obviously. And again, hot water comes from two different types of heating or boiling units in Italy. One way is to have an electric heating unit, which is typically called a boiler in Italy, meaning that it boils or heats up water through electricity. And the other way is that there is a different type of unit which heats water with gas. So with the same gas supply that you use for your gas stoves or cooking stoves. Usually in my experience, I've seen that the one that uses gas supply is more effective and efficient and costs a little bit less also. This is because it heats up water only when you start using it. So when you use the faucet or taps, and when you're kind of calling the water, it's only at that time that the gas supply is used to heat the water instantly. On the other hand, the boiler based units, they need a very long time first of all to kickstart the heating process. So it can take between 2 to 6 hours to heat up a giant unit of a giant water containment unit, and therefore it consumes a lot of electricity. And I was told by my colleagues when I first arrived in Milan that if it's an apartment which has a boiler type of heating, just don't take it, because the electricity bill is going to be magnanimous. At the same time, if you are coming from outside, if you've been outside your house for some days and you turned it off, you will have to wait for several hours before the water can get heated. So when it's really cold, it can become a little bit uncomfortable, and therefore the gas-based heating unit for water supply is a more nicer one, according to me. Okay, the next point to keep in mind is the cooking facility. So on your kitchen counter or kitchen top, what is the system in place to help you cook food? So of course there are two ways. There is the traditional gas stove which runs on a gas supply, and then there are also the electric plates or induction plates, which are also quite common in modern kitchenettes which are installed in modern or new apartments. The gas stove of course is a little bit more efficient in terms of cost. So of course gas costs lesser than electricity. So if that is the medium through which you cook food, your utility bills at the end of the month will be a little bit lesser. On the other hand, if it's an all induction platform on your kitchen counter, then this means that you're using only electricity to cook everything, even to boil water for example, and therefore you're using more electricity. So at the end of the day you will end up paying a little bit more. But of course this is not really a personal choice. It depends on what is there in place in the apartment, but these are the two main methods. And the final point to consider is how are the washrooms or toilets in Italy. And my Asian friends will be glad to know that they are similar to European toilets or washrooms, but the main difference is that there is always a bidet. So your life will be a little bit more comfortable when you are in Italy as compared to many other European countries. If you come from an Asian or Middle Eastern culture where you need to have a water supply to wash yourself after you litter, it's kind of funny, but well, it is something to consider after all. and there will always be a bidet next to the toilet seat itself. And for the showering, there are different methods, of course. There could be a shower cabinet, there could be a bathtub as well, so this depends on the personal choice of the tenant or the landlord. But the typical practice is definitely to have a washing unit, some kind of washing unit, which could be either a jet spray, a bidet more typically, next to the toilet seat in the washroom. So stay assured if you come from, for example, India, Asia or Middle East or other similar cultures. So these were the 5 key things to keep in mind when selecting an apartment or house for yourself. Of course, more to do with the basic amenities or utilities that you need in order to make your house or apartment livable and comfortable. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and thank you very much for all the love and support. Again, like I said in the beginning of this video, continue watching my channel, check out all the new videos. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to support my channel.